I'm putting on my rubber gloves because it's time that I washed up all my thrifted finds before I put them into use. Hello there, I'm Julie from Julie Davis Flower Workshops and Flower Start, the online flower arranging classes. Now I have been thrifting, surprise, surprise. I have got 3 thrifting trips to share with you. I've been to Rochester, into my own hometown, and I did a quick flit around the charity shops in Leek in Staffordshire when we went away for a couple of days to the potteries. You might remember that I filmed 2 videos of my trip. The first one was showing you the world of Wedgwood, and the second one was the fabulous pottery at Burley. And you'll remember from those videos that I don't like Wedgwood jasperware and I really don't like blue willow pattern. In this thrift haul video, there's nothing that is blue and white, but there's plenty of things I'm going to share with you. The thing I love about thrifting. Actually, I'm going to take the rubber gloves off and show you what I bought. Now, the thing that I love about thrifting is that, yes, I have got half an idea of what I'm looking out for, but I'm always prepared for a few surprises. And normally it's time for me to spend on my own, so it's quite good being away from the family. Sometimes I go with a couple of girlfriends. There's always lots of nattering, a cup of tea and lunch. And then, of course, when you get home, it's unwrapping everything you've bought so you can really have a good look. And also, I like to find out a little bit about the things that I've been buying, just to expand my knowledge. And then comes searching on the internet. And if you haven't already discovered the app on your phone called Google Lens, that is a really great starting point. And then sometimes I just put search terms into Google. And one of the search terms I put in this time round was, what was it? It was green glassware with poppy design. And guess what came up? Jeannette ware depression glass. I think I may have found a jug that cost me £1.99, which on Etsy is selling for £35. So watch on to the end of the video and I'll share more about that. And actually, when we went to Rochester, part of the reason we went, there was a free exhibition in the cathedral. It was a display of 15,000 paper doves, peace doves, which were hanging down from the ceiling. So I'll put in some footage from that as well. And also, I'm still on my quest to find out more about Chippendale glass, and we did spot some that was labelled in an antique store actually, and it looked like a more modern variety with a bit of a tinge of colour through it, sort of looked 1970s. And then alongside there was something else that looked like Chippendale glass, but it wasn't labelled. So I really must pluck up my courage next time I go to an antiques or vintage market where it's got these things that look like Chippendale glass, and actually ask the vendor what it is that makes it Chippendale glass and what doesn't. So if you know more about Chippendale glass than I do, how many more times can I say Chippendale glass? Let me know in the comments, because I really would like to understand what it is that I'm looking at. Anyway, on with the haul. So let's start with the Rochester thrift haul. I've bought this piece of glassware for £4, and you can see why I wanted to do my washing up straight away. It's a little bit dirty, and actually the glass is quite thin. I'm doing a project called Julia and Julia, the Flower Edit, and I've bought this book written by Julia Clements in 1950, a treatise on the art of flower arrangement. And I've set myself the challenge of making every single one of the arrangements in her book. And on this page, there is an arrangement, well, not so much an arrangement, but a beautiful garden rose put into this very fancy brandy glass. And I know that I can find brandy glasses, these decorative ones, really easily in the charity shop. Big red ones are just going to be too gaudy for me. So I don't want to necessarily be slavishly looking for exactly the same containers, but I thought this one gave a really good nod to the kind of container that Julia had used in her arrangement here, and something perhaps I could use in my home afterwards. Wouldn't that look great with loads and loads of daffodils or tulips, or even hyacinths, just all massed in together? £4, a little bit more than I would have liked to have spent, but needs must when you've got a project at hand. My next find was this lead crystal rose bowl. And to be honest, I wasn't really in the market for a rose bowl, but this was priced at just £5 and I couldn't resist. It's got this 2-storey flower frog inside. What is the difference between cut glass and crystal? Well, I don't really know, but I have discovered that crystal has this lovely ringing to it. What I'm curious to know though is what these cuts are called. The edge of the container is rounded, but this flat piece here isn't actually flat. It just pushes in a little bit. And then there's an 8-pointed star with this little bit of grooving here. Now, is this strawberry cut? I don't really know. So I was rather pleased to pay £5 for that. And we did see a smaller bowl very similar to this with a sticker on that said 24% leaded crystal. And that was £9 for something much smaller. So I was really pleased to be able to take this home with me. And again, I'm sure I'm going to be able to use it in my Julie and Julia project. It's really heavy. It just needs a little bit of a wash and then that'll sparkle in the sunlight. Have I found myself another piece of Chippendale glass? This, as you can see, was £1.25. I'm going to insert some footage of other Chippendale glass that we found in the same antique shop. It had a colour to it from memory. And then was next to another piece of what looked like Chippendale glass but wasn't marked at it and didn't have a price to reflect that it would have been Chippendale glass. So I couldn't leave this one in the shop because it makes a great pair with my other piece of Chippendale glass also found in a charity shop a few years ago. So please, if you know anything about the cuts in leaded crystal or how to properly identify Chippendale glass, let me know in the comments. And a little glass candle holder next. Now the beauty of buying things from the charity shop is you don't spend too much money, but also it's the investigation afterwards of what you've actually found. So this is priced at £2. If you look really closely at the label, it says Bolsius, Nederland, and then it's got just a tiny bit of the website address, bolsius.com. So of course I looked that up and discovered that this company has been making candles since 1870. I probably won't use this at home, it doesn't really fit with my style, but it had such a lovely weighty feel to it, a bit like an ice cube. So I'll be soaking the label off and putting that in my present drawer with a nice candle, and that'll make a great gift for a friend. You might have spotted this plate last week in my Burley pottery video. I didn't buy it from Burley, I bought it from a vintage store in town and paid £2.50. That's quite steep for me, but that was a vintage shop price rather than a charity shop price, and I bought it because the pattern is Asiatic pheasant, and that was something I fell in love with when I visited the pottery up in Staffordshire. I also paid £2.50 for this plate, and I was slightly gobsmacked that it was this much money. But this plate is the 4th in my collection. I already have 3 plates identical to this, which I bought in a charity shop in town for just 50p each. So probably overall the price has evened out. Next up, I found this really shallow bowl, and this is going to be so useful for some of my Julia and Julia flower arranging projects. And what I love most about this bowl, not only the price, I think it was £1, but can you see the tiny lime scale marks around the edge? And why am I so pleased about that? Well, I just know that someone else has used this for flower arranging, and it's passed from one flower arranger to another. I'm going to see if I can take off that scummy line using a paste of lemon and bicarbonate of soda. And doesn't everybody need a silver tray? So this is a silver plate tray turned over, and that's what it says on the back. Basically what that means is the metal tray, which I think was brass underneath, has been dipped in silver. And you can see the little bit of wear on the tray, and some of the brass is starting to show through the silver plate. I was quite pleased with that for £5, and I've been using that on my kitchen worktop to corral my little vases and containers of spring flowering bulbs. It's got little feet on the bottom and these rather lovely handles. Do you remember I said that I'd been up to the potteries to look at the World of Wedgwood and the Burslem pottery? Well, we stayed in a hotel in Leek town centre, and we arrived about 4:15, and that gave me just 45 minutes to explore all 7 charity shops in town. So I raced around before they closed at 5 p.m, and I managed to find a lovely little bit of roddyware made in Staffordshire. And I paid £1.99. Let me just see if I can peel that label back and show you the back stamp. So what I'm probably going to do with this pot is not keep my loose change in it. I'll use it for flower arranging, obviously. So I've got a pin holder here and with a little bit of the museum wax on the back, and I can put that in and squish it down, and I just need that to set for a couple of minutes and I'll be all set to go. It's a lovely colour, isn't it? And talking about colour, let's get on to the Jeannette Depression glassware. Now, I spotted this glassware in the same shop where I bought my Roddyware from, but I didn't buy it. I slept on it overnight and then I kept dreaming about it. So once we'd had our breakfast, I darted off to the shops at 9 o'clock, and I was so pleased that my pieces of Depression glass were still there. I got myself a milk jug. I think the price has come off this, but I think it was, let's say, £2. And I also found 4 plates, and they were 79p each. Can you see the little pansy pattern in the glass? This is called Doric and Pansy, and there's another pattern very similar to this, just called Doric, and that leaves these little squares blank around the edges, so there aren't any pansies on it. This colour is called teal blue or ultramarine, and the Depression glass was made at the Jeannette Glass Company in a town called Jeannette in Pennsylvania in America during the 1930s. So I was rather pleased to discover when I was Googling green glass with pansies on it that a clip came up showing my jug for sale on Etsy for £35. Just hope I don't drop it. And the last things I bought were teeny tiny. These look like Capodimonte pieces, and that was another good thing about Googling everything. I finally worked out how you spell Capodimonte. So when I go out thrifting with my flower arranging friends, we always have a bit of a giggle about these because I'm drawn to them because they got flowers on them, but I don't really like the little massed flower arrangements which we think of as being the typical Capodimonte pieces. So here I have got an anemone, and I think this one is a scabious, and on the back it says Balmoral China. These are actually place settings. Can you see that you could put a little place name on the side there? So what I'm probably going to do is to put a postcard or a favourite picture and have that sitting on my side as a little photo frame. Let's see whether I can get rid of that limescale ring from the inside of my new glass saucer. So I'm taking a couple of teaspoons of bicarbonate of soda, and I just happen to have some lemon slices left over from pancake day. So I'm going to mix that together to a little paste using some tap water and then smear it around the inside edge of the container and just rubbing it in with my fingertips and also a cloth. I then rinse the glass dish out using some white vinegar just to take the last of the residue away and give a much cleaner look to my container. So a great hack if you've got limescale problems too. And just to show you that I do use my containers and I don't just keep them in the cupboard, here is my finished Julie and Julia arrangement. It should have been made with magnolias, but I only had lilies. And before I go, just one last look at those 15,000 paper peace doves in a beautiful setting of Rochester Cathedral. So if you haven't done so already, let me know in the comments which was your favourite of my thrifted finds, and I'll leave you with images from Rochester High Street and the windowsill bars which my friend bought. I think she got a really good deal there with the original flower frog inside. I'll see you again next time.